All right, my friends, it's now time for the Soulful Psalm segment of Beacon of Truth. The Soulful Psalms, we take the Psalms that we hear in the holy sacrifice of the Mass, that we pray during the Liturgy of the Hours. And even if there's some musical artists who have taken the Psalms and have written music to them and created songs based on the Psalms. We hear that in a lot of praise and worship type of music, particularly like Psalm 23, the famous one, "The Lord is my shepherd, there's nothing I shall want." And so, what we're doing on this segment of the show is taking these Psalms that we're somewhat familiar with, that we hear at Mass, and we're connecting them to your everyday lived experience. And again, my hope is that when you go to Mass and you hear these Psalms, that you're experiencing a deeper love of God, that you're um, really experiencing God's word in a way that connects more intimately to your life, so that they're not just, okay, we're going to sing this refrain and okay, let's go on to the next reading. No, that we're really encountering the living God through his word and through the Psalms. Well, today we're continuing our look at Psalm 71. Um, that's in book two of the Psalms, which is Psalms 42 to 72. And so Psalms 52, no, 51 to 72 are written by David. So Psalms 42 to 49, sons of Korah. Psalm 50 is Asaph. 51 to 72 are David. So this psalm doesn't have a prescript or a superscript, and this is a fairly long psalm. It's about 24 verses long, and we're going to dive in at verse 19. Actually, we're going to look a little bit before that, because verse 19 is actually in the middle of a verse, right? So we're going to go back and look at a couple of verses before. But the way David starts this psalm off: "In you, O Lord, I take refuge. Let me never be put to shame. In your justice, rescue me, free me, incline your ear to me, and save me." So that's how David started off this psalm. Again, I love the this psalm. I love the way David starts off a lot of his psalms here, seeking the Lord's help to for refuge, for shelter. That with you, Lord, on my side, I will not be put to shame, even though people are trying to malign me and harm me and embarrass me. I will not be put to shame because you're by my side, Lord. I love that. And so we're going to dive in here at verse, well, again, 19 is in the middle of a sentence. So we'll go back up to verse 18. "Even till I am old and gray headed, do not forsake me, O God." So I'm thinking about that myself. As I get older, my hair is turning. Well, if I had hair, uh, trust me, when I cut it, it's gray, my friends. So is my beard too. But that's why I keep them nice and trimmed. Not because I'm embarrassed of the hair. It's just, I just like the bald feel. But still, even if I'm old and gray-headed, do not forsake me, O God. Uh, Let me tell of your mighty arm to every coming generation. So the faith is not something we keep to ourselves. The faith is to be passed on, to our children and our grandchildren. So those of you who are parents and grandparents, you still have an important, an impactful way of affecting your children by your witness of how you live your faith in Jesus Christ. That's the way they really learn. I mean, yes, we could teach them their prayers, we can go to mass with them, and that's important as well. Absolutely. But what's going to stay with them in their hearts is how we live our Catholic faith. Not just pay lip service to it, but actually live it out, so they can see, wait a minute, mom and dad and grandma and grandpa, they're not just saying these things, they're actually living it. I can see how living this faith is impacting their life, and then and how do I do that? How do I appropriate this faith and make it my own? That's the kind of way we need to be teaching young people and sharing our experience of God's love in our lives with them, right? So this is something that, again, we pass on to them, and they, God willing, pass on to their children all the way down to the generations. This is what David did in First Kings chapter 2, when he's dying, and he tells Solomon that to trust in the Lord, and if you do this, you will not fail. And if your sons and their sons follow the ways of the Lord, There will not fail you a man on the throne of Israel, that you will be successful, if you just keep in the ways of the Lord. And so we need to model this behavior, of course, for our children, but also for the culture as well. It's important to be that witness. All right. And now we get to the verse, your strength and your justice, O God, reach to the highest heavens. Right? So God's strength permeates every level of our life. Every aspect is touched somehow by God's loving hand. Right? It talks about the highest heavens. So again, you look at Jewish cosmology, we talk about the heavens, right? So we have the first heavens, which is the sky with the clouds, and then we have and then we have the second heaven, which is the outer space, the moon and the sun and the other stars. And then we have the third heaven, which is the highest heaven, which is the place where God dwells, right? Our heavenly home. So we talk about the different levels of heaven. And there's not in any of those realms where God does not touch us, where God does not affect us, where God does not open himself deeply to giving us his love and his mercy. Your God's strength and justice permeates every aspect of our lives. It is you who have worked such wonders. Oh God, who is like you? Right? So we have to acknowledge that all of this comes from God, right? Everything that we experience comes from this interaction with God, and that He is the one that works the wonders. Now, we can get lost in thinking because I am creative, I have a particular talent or skill set, that I am the one who's generating all this great stuff. No, we have to acknowledge, as David says here, that all this comes from God. God, who is like you? He's asking a rhetorical question. Of course, no one's like God, but he's saying here, God, look at everything you have done in my life. Look at all the marvels. God, what he's really saying, there's no one like you, Lord. There's no one like the God. And so when we witness to that, we bear witness to that in how we share our faith with others.
Yeah, and if we really adopt the frame of mind of that everything belongs to God, everything comes from God, then we realize we don't get the opportunity to be full of ourselves because we've accomplished something or there's something on the surface that looks like, wow, look at you. But it's like, no, look at God. Because again, when we misuse those gifts, He can easily take those away or diminish them. I mean, or close opportunities. Well, you kind of got big headed, so I wasn't going to take you in this direction because then you would have thought it was you when it's been me this whole time.
Yeah, and we have to be responsible
Yep.
for the gifts we've been given. And you're right, that's a good point. Because remember with Gideon, right? Where I think it's the book of Judges in Gideon, where uh, God calls Gideon to fight, and Gideon said, "Well, I'm the least of the least." He's in the tribe of Benjamin, and he's the least within that small tribe. But he goes, nope, the Lord wants to use you. So he went with like 30,000. He goes, that's too many. Then 3,000. Oh, that's too many. Then 300. He says, wait a minute, 300 against 30,000. But he was stripping them away to show that the victory comes from God, not from you.
Yeah.
So the point that you just made is very biblical and something that we all should take solace in.
Yeah, and we oftentimes hold ourselves back because we think that the reason you have a gift or the reason that you have an opportunity is because of you. When if we say, Lord, take this talent as far as it can go, or take this opportunity as far as it can go, and get out of His way, then you're like, wow, I didn't realize I could get good at that, or I didn't realize these doors would fly open just by stop making it about me.
Yeah, that's it. It cannot be about, and that's where I think even people that serve in the church can get lost, because they're used to the accolades and people saying how awesome they are. Even when you're talking about the faith,
Right.
but remember, it's like the image in Revelation 12 where Mary is standing on the moon is under her feet. The moon is there because it's not the source of light, it just reflects the light. And Mary is the one who reflects Jesus. She's not God, but she reflects God. And the same thing is true for us. we're supposed to be reflecting the love of God. That's part of what it means to be made in God's image in Genesis 1:27. We're supposed to be reflecting God's life like a mirror, so we're not the source.
Yeah.
We're reflecting that source. And we have to remember that, or else arrogance and pride can take over, and we become full of ourselves, and we forget who's the true source of our strength. And David says that too. He says, you have made me witness many troubles and evils, but you will give me back my life. I love that. Lord, you will give me back my life. Why? Because my life belongs to you, Lord. So everything I'm doing in my life is a gift from God.
For more on the Psalms with Deacon Harold Burke-Sivers, check out Beacon of Truth weekdays at 4 p.m. Eastern on EWTN Radio and streaming everywhere you listen to podcasts.